You know what'll cheer me up? A chat with our friend DJ Bean from What Chaos. DJ from the
Hey,
studio,
boys.
hair all done nicely and the mustache. Let's go, DJ.
Yeah. We're back. Just knocked out our Oilers preview on What Chaos, which is why there's a bunch of Oilers stuff behind me. But there's also a bunch of Oilers stuff behind me because there's usually a bunch of Oilers stuff behind me. Love them so much. Love you guys so much. How are you?
We are great, and we will talk about the Oilers and do all of that fun stuff. You posted this electric photo the other day. What's the story here? Why are you on a boat? Where are you? What's going on?
Who, me? Oh, I love going out with you guys. It's such a celebration of all the things I like, which is the Oilers and my vanity. I was on a boat yesterday, and I'd said on a very recent, like this week episode of What Chaos to Pete, that we had not dressed this summer the way that we wanted to. We had discussed doing a lot of hockey jerseys and shorts, but the weather was never totally right. And I said, I've specifically wanted to wear this Oilers sweatshirt that I got during the Cup final in Edmonton. I've wanted to wear it when I go sailing, but the weather has not been right. And then that day, friend who I go sailing with happened to text and be like, want to go tomorrow? It's going to be kind of chilly, though. What do you think I did? I dusted off my best Oilers sweatshirt, went on there. My friend Nicole took a little candid there. I'd gotten a haircut, so I had like the bad hair situation going on. It was blowing around. Hardest picture of me that's ever existed. I usually look so bad, but I love it.
Oh, do you ever go skiing? Like, can you ski? No.
I'm what the kids would call a puss when I was a younger man. I never did any of those extreme. Hockey was all I would do, really.
So you just mentioned there the way you wanted to dress with hockey jerseys and shorts, and I've always wanted to do this because I saw someone do it once. Skiing or snowboarding in a hockey jersey.
That's a good look.
I saw someone do it, and credit to him, it was clearly a full outfit. Mullet with a retro Penguins Yager jersey. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And
on a ski hill, that's legit.
It just came right into my head then.
I think that Pete, Sean, and I should do kind of like What Chaos group outings and like team building exercises. But everything that we do, it has to be in wearing our hockey jerseys. So skiing, hockey jerseys, group movie trip, hockey jerseys, swimming, hockey jerseys. We have so many jerseys here that might as well.
Yeah, you got plenty to spare.
So you spent the summer on a sailboat. What else did you get up to?
Honestly, I think that's kind of the crux of it. I don't think I had the most. I rollerbladed a lot, and then I started trying to lift weights. So then I stopped rollerblading because lifting weights makes you sore. So I've just gained more weight, and now I'm in the worst shape of my life as a result because I'm not rollerblading as much. But really, the last like month and a half has just been like, all right, start stuff for this coming season. Let's go. Let's drop the puck, as the kids say.
We are big fans of What Chaos. You guys did a couple of interviews that you dropped throughout the summer. If you could recommend one interview for the people watching this show to go check out from your summer series, what would it be?
Ooh, boys, probably Jacob Lauko. Jacob Lauko was a lot of fun. Oh, I mean, Sean Monahan was a very good conversation, but it was unbelievably tragic for a million reasons. But that, like 2 days before Johnny Gaudreau died, so that was a crazy week. Like talking to Monahan about, like joking with him about like, hey, no matter what you say, we're all just gonna think you went to Columbus to play with Johnny. And he was like no, yeah, kind of, and talking that was obviously tough, but that was a very good conversation. Also, Quentin Byfield. What's that?
Cody Ceci interview? People are saying it in the chat.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Cody's. Oh, that. Apologies to Jacob Lauko. Cody Ceci #1, because it was Cody and Hugo Ceci. And my goal for this podcast for kind of a while was to be able to put out a graphic that said tomorrow on What Chaos, Cody and Hugo Ceci. And he had Hugo with him. We talked to Hugo. He's the best. And we just did our Oilers preview. And I like Ty Emberson so much that I'm like, is there something that we don't know about here that the Sharks would get rid of this guy when they are clearly in a rebuild? And I think that my answer ended up being like, you know what? Cody Ceci is like a guy that you want in that environment. They signed Tyler Toffoli. They got veterans. And if there's one thing that you could say for Cody Ceci, it's that his teammates absolutely love him. So love Cody Ceci. Can't wait to see him when the Sharks are in Boston. He's the best.
It will be interesting to see where CC goes. Because you said and Boston.
What?
Right?
Oh, I meant when the Sharks are playing in Boston.
Oh, I thought you meant like they acquire him at the deadline.
Oh my God. Don Sweeney, if you are ready to take a break from screaming about podcasts, trade for Cody Ceci. That would be the best.
You just did your Oilers preview, like you said. What are your general vibes? So, like, I have like an optimistic part of my brain and a pessimistic side. And there's one part of me that goes, you know what? We could have a very pissed off Oilers team who wants to show the entire NHL this year that they are the big dogs. They are the Stanley Cup favorites. There's another side of me that thinks it's obviously not a Stanley Cup hangover because they obviously didn't win, but is there going to be a little bit of, okay, it's just the regular season. Get us through this, get us to the playoffs. Could we have stretches where they maybe look disinterested? Where do you come out on the vibe of the Oilers and how they'll come out of the gates this season?
I'm also interested in how they start, but even if they do have bad stretches, it's a Chris Knobloch team. If they have a bad stretch, they're going to follow it up with a 40-game win streak, and it'll be the most ridiculous thing we've ever seen. So maybe that's just kind of what they are, and maybe that's what they're prone to. I think that you make a good point that going back to from when Chris Knobloch took over, it was just such a push and push. But maybe the summer was just a little catch your breath from that, and then it continues, and maybe they go all the way through, because even as we were sorting out the final standings of the Pacific Division, they're so much better, at least on paper, than the other teams in their division. That, like, just how much do they win it by? Is there a scenario in which they don't finish first or second in the Pacific? They're just so much better than everybody. But it's all going to be about what happens once they get to the postseason, and whether the Stars end up having more of a last gasp than they did last year, because I was kind of surprised by how easy the Stars went down, even though that series was by no means an easy series. Maybe the road ends up being a little more challenging for them this year, though. I think, though, that ultimately they should be the Stanley Cup favorite. But what I'll say is I don't remember an obvious, clear-cut Stanley Cup favorite that did at least have spots on the roster in which you could poke holes if you wanted to, specifically the third pairing, which I think both of those jobs should be up for grabs. And I've got the Stu Skinner jersey behind me. No bigger Stu fan than me, but a player who is prone to, when he's off, he's really off. But even then, Calvin Pickard is such a solid backup that, like, even if that becomes a problem, I don't see it really becoming a problem. But there's at least two areas on the roster where they're imperfect.
I do think that's fair too. It is not a roster that you look at, and I mean the top six is loaded.
Even
but
the bottom six.
The bottom six does have some question marks. The obviously blue line has question marks. The goaltending, I mean, they've fought through goaltending inconsistencies, so I do brush that off a bit. As like, they've been through it before. Why will they not get through it again? But you are right. It's like if you were to ask 100 people on the street or of any NHL city who's the Stanley Cup favorite, I think probably 70 to 85 of them tell you the Oilers, but you can sit there and, like you said, poke holes in the roster. Okay, we're going to get back to the Oilers stuff because Liam has a game he wants to play. But it's popping up in the chat, and I know you come on here to talk Oilers, but can you just give us a bit of, like, what are the Bruins doing with Jeremy Swayman? Like, this seems insane that a team is not paying their number one goalie.
Yeah, I'm dicking around with him, and my thing on Swayman and the Bruins has been that this has been a borderline career-long experience that has existed for Jeremy Swayman with the Bruins, where for whatever reason, despite what he's proven to them, they've never been super comfortable just giving him the keys. And it existed last summer, obviously, when they went to arbitration, and Swayman took that very personally, was not a happy camper. That's why he's playing. That's why he's kind of playing hardball with them this summer. But going back to when Tuukka Rask was hurt in the 2021 playoffs against the Islanders, they didn't go to Swayman. They stuck with Rask, who is hurt, which I would have done that because I just believed in Tuukka Rask, and Swayman was a bit unproven, whatever. At the end of that season, Rask is getting surgery and out of a contract. They signed Linus Ullmark, which was like, it's kind of weird. okay, whatever. They're just going to go with the tandem of Ullmark and Swayman. Once Rask gets healthy, they send Swayman down and they sign Tuukka Rask. Like, there's been so many points along his career where you'd think it's just like logical. All right, give him the keys. He's the guy. And I'm sorry. At some of those points, it's fair for them to not be super comfortable just completely letting him run the show. But with what he did in the postseason, like, he's not getting carried away by asking for $8 million if that's what he's asking for, or for wanting like an 8 times $8.5 million thing. So that's confusing to me. And the other one is, if say you don't like his number and you want to give him an 8-year deal and you don't like the number he's asking for, just give him the number he's asking for 7 years or for 6 years, or just remove years until you can come to an agreement. It seems like a logical thing to work out. And I know Swayman loves Boston and he loves the Bruins. So I think the outside perception and the perception here is that this is more on the Bruins and their handling of it than Swayman drawing a line in the sand and being one tough customer. I hate that the term lockout has been thrown around, or holdout has been thrown around with this, because he's not holding out. The sides have not come to an agreement. So that's both sides' fault. And I think it's more the fault of the Bruins than it is Swayman's.
If I could play devil's advocate and maybe be more on the Bruins side, he's played a career high 44 games in a season. There maybe is a part of me that if I'm sitting as Don Sweeney, I'm going, whoa. You've never shown us you can play 55 games. So why do I have to pay you like a goalie who's played 55 games and been still at that kind of top 10 level?
Yeah, and he is still at the age where there's projection baked into these 8-year deals, and you sign him at a number that maybe will make people flinch for the first couple of years, and then it comes down the more games that he plays. But it's a good point by you. However, the postseason, and I know the postseason was only 13 games, the postseason showed that he can start and he didn't play all 13 games, but he ended up taking over midway through that first round against the Maple Leafs. He showed that he can start every night and be dominant every night, which he was.
All right. Overrated, underrated, perfectly rated. How many things do you got for us? We'll do this, then we'll let you go, DJ.
I think we have 5.
5. Okay. Liam throws a topic. It's very self-explanatory. DJ, you tell us if it's overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated. Liam.
Okay. Early season results. And this can go for a variety of sports. Right now, we're seeing it in the NFL where the San Francisco 49ers are 1-2.
Bengals are 0-3.
Bengals are on 3. Vikings 3-0. Early season results. DJ, we'll let you go first. Overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated?
I mean, the Oilers fan in me wants to say early season results famously do not matter. However, I'm looking at my dear friend Sean DePaz, who is a Buffalo Bills fan, and actually had to jump off the Oilers bandwagon because Chris Knobloch had to shoot his mouth off against the Buffalo Sabres, or the Buffalo Bills. Thanks a lot. Ruined my workday with that line, even though it was a kind of maybe interesting line, whatever. For the sake of Sean and the Buffalo Bills, I will say early season results dictate what is to come. Super Bowl or bust.
I will also. I'm actually going to go underrated. Like, people love to point to now they'll point to the Oilers of last year, or they'll point to the St. Louis Blues of 2017. But like, there are 2 examples of that in the last 7 years of teams turning it around. Like,
and they both went to the final.
But for
also, the St. Louis Blues of 2019 should not have won the Stanley Cup. That's like the most inexplicable cup win I've ever seen in my life. So that's an outlier for a bajillion reasons.
For every Oilers and Blues season, you can find 2 of them. You can find a Buffalo, an Ottawa, all of these other teams in just the NHL. Never mind going to other sports. Look at the Toronto Blue Jays this year. I love my Blue Jays. They started terribly, and it was off the rails and never back on. For every team that does turn it around, you can find probably 10 that never did get it back on track. Look at the Canucks last year. They started red hot and then just basically coasted to a division title.
I'm going to say perfectly rated.
All right.
Because I think as the year goes on, it just balances itself out.
That's fair too.
Okay, Aaron, moving on. Reading. Is reading overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated?
When he sent me this earlier, I couldn't stop laughing.
So to give some context to this, I'm currently in the process of moving house, and I got a ton of bucks that basically just have dust on them. So I think, should I start reading more? Tyler.
I'll say underrated, but I'm not going to start reading books anytime soon. I probably should. It'd probably help me sleep better at night versus sitting on my phone.
Yeah.
I'll say underrated.
I'll just say, like, what do humans do? They breathe. We are here to breathe and walk around and speak, and we do those things almost constantly. Books spend 99.99999% of their lives not being read.
Yeah.
So in that respect, reading is overrated. I enjoy reading. I will, though, plug a What Chaos interview with the great Kirill Marchenko of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who does not like music and definitely doesn't like reading. Thinks it's for losers. Pete, you want to say?
I think that reading is awesome. The problem with reading, I've gotten into reading recently. The problem with reading is that nobody fucking cares about whatever book that you're reading, so you can't talk about it. Like, you can talk about a TV show because there's like a related experience there, but you talk about a book, nobody can visualize or fucking picture anything. You can't talk about a book that you're reading. So that's my take on that.
That's a great take.
That's a great point. So I read Scottie Pippen's book right after The Last Dance came out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tell people about it, but nobody else had read it. So for that reason, I'm with Pete. Overrated. I was underrated until that moment. Crazy.
I'll say though, I don't read fiction. I only read nonfiction. And for years I've been trying to be like, I'm gonna do it. This is gonna be the summer or whatever. I'm gonna read fiction, but I just keep hammering biographies about musicians. And I can talk about those to people because normally what I'm talking about anyway is like fun music facts or whatever. So I don't have to say, hey, I'm reading this book and blah, blah. I'll just be like, hey, did you know that whatever music thing? And people can choose to care or not care.
What Chaos Book Club coming next season?
What Chaos Book Club would
Like
but then people would be like, you got to read the game. And we're not going to read the game.
Yeah. Fair. All right. Number 3, Liam.
A good preseason performance.
I'll just step right in. Wildly overrated.
Overrated.
Always overrated. End of my answer. DJ?
Oh, it's overrated, but especially in Boston where they're trying to figure out who the wings are going to be to replace Jake DeBrusk. There's been a lot of like, well, turns out that guy's not ready after like one preseason game where they don't score a goal. I'll say that a good preseason performance is overrated, but I will say overrating preseason performances is underrated because it's one of my favorite things of the preseason, which is people getting carried away by preseason performances.
Decent point.
I think the fact the picture is Tyrati, it just shows that this is overrated.
Yes.
Okay.
Number 4.
Troy Stetcher.
Just as a dude?
Just not as a person. Here's a fact. I saw Troy Stetcher the other day
Where?
at the Sherwood Park Arena because he used to play for Penticton.
Mm.
Penticton in town, so he came out to support his team, which was quite cool to see. I'm just going to say Troy Stetcher is overrated because we're just throwing him in as our top 4 defenseman.
I think
he didn't even play last season.
I think he's underrated because you can actually look back to stretches of his career, no pun intended, where he's handled that role perfectly fine. So I'll say I think he's underrated, and this goes back. It was going to be our Sherwood Ford Giant question of out of 10, how do you rank this, or how confident are you in the Oilers blue line? I think people are maybe a little bit more down on this blue line than they should, and I think Stetcher can give you everyday NHL minutes. DJ.
I have to say underrated because we did our Oilers preview and did not bring up Troy Stetcher. And I personally don't feel bad about doing our Oilers preview without bringing up Troy Stetcher. So I guess I'm forced to say underrated because clearly we have underrated him. But is that the conversation? That like
top 4, yeah.
Wait, sorry. What did you say, Liam?
People think he's going to fit on the right side of the top 4.
He had
I think that's Emerson.
Game stretch with Darnell Nurse last year. So
yeah, so I think that's Emerson, but Stetcher is a candidate there. I think more third pair, but fuck, I don't know. I think that Emerson's going to be the guy that a month into the season, if he stays healthy, we're like, wow, what an absolute godsend. And now the second pair is stable. And I don't know what the health of Darnell Nurse has been the last couple of weeks, but if he levels off and at least is a solid second pairing player, then they're even more in business than we thought.
Aaron is the last one. I don't know what this is. Could be anything.
Final one I want to know. Overrated, underrated, fall season. Everybody
Oh.
says they love the fall, but like Ty, you look outside, the leaves are everywhere. It's getting colder. It's sadder. I don't know if it's because my summer was cut short this year. Shout out the Oil. They went far. I'm indifferent. I think it's overrated.
DJ?
Aaron, I will say that it is not overrated for me to wish you a belated happy birthday, correct?
Hey.
Happy belated birthday, my friend. Fall's great. I love fall. Fall better than spring. I don't know if that's some sort of hot take. Fall is like, I love the fashion. I love especially in Boston, I love the fall weather. It's very nice. The only way in which fall kind of stinks is if you happen to be doing any sort of outdoor exercising where you're running or you're rollerblading or whatever there. Once it starts to get cold, that's a real bummer. But other than that, give me the fall. Hockey's back, basketball's back, everything smells good. Yeah, fall, love it. Underrated, even if it is rated a 10 out of 10, I'll still say it's a little underrated.
I'll say perfectly rated just because I do think there are people who do overrate it. But like Tyler Mulick in our chat just said, it's the worst of the 4 seasons. That's wildly incorrect. You're getting all your sports back, which is great. NFL's back, hockey's exciting, baseball's good. And also, there are activities that you can do. Sitting around a fire is better in the fall than it is in the summer.
Yeah.
So
I completely agree. Halloween's in the fall.
Where are you going on this one?
I'm going to go perfectly rated because I kind of come on both sides of it. On one side, it's great that we can have sports back. Like, I prefer playing indoor sports and outdoor sports, so it kind of works for me. But as the farmer I am,
Liam is a farmer.
I have to pick a lot of vegetables when the fall starts coming around. I got to do some potato picking next
It's
week.
harvest for you.
It's harvest season, baby. I ain't got time for that.
You harvest?
I'm an avid. I got green fingertips, you know.
See, I don't harvest. I don't. My familiarity with harvest is, I would say, very low. I don't harvest at all.
I had to put the heater on in my greenhouse the other day to keep my cucumbers and tomatoes. All right.
If somebody texts you while you're harvesting, are you just like, "Hey, sorry, can I get back? Sorry, I'm harvesting right now."
What'd you grow this year?
There's no service at the farm,
Yeah,
so no
too.
problem. This year I grew in my house. I grew lettuce, basil, tomatoes, and cucumbers. And at the farm, I grew potatoes, corn, beets, peas, and carrots. Yeah, no big deal.
You're an interesting man.
I like this. Maybe I'll harvest. I don't know if I can harvest right now, but I think that by the time I started to harvest, it would become winter, and then I just fuck my whole harvest. So, at some point, we'll talk offline about harvesting, Liam.
Come on by.
DJ Bean from What Chaos. We'll throw the link to their YouTube in the description of today's episode. You should absolutely make it a part of your hockey routine this season, and we absolutely love having you on the show. DJ, appreciate it.
Please do. We've got some cool stuff coming too that we'll say has a bit of Edmonton flavor that you and yours will absolutely love. So stay tuned for that. We love you. We love all the Oilers Nation folks. Go Oilers, etc., Oil Man.
There you go. DJ Bean from What Chaos. Find him on Twitter at DJ Bean. And of course, go watch What Chaos. I love having him on to shoot the shit. We'll make that obviously not weekly because he's a busy man, but we'll have him on throughout the season.
Totally.
Once or twice a month. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.